The Lord explains souls and their origins, diseases and healing. Chapter 35. The difference of the souls on earth. The Lord. Besides, there are also differences among the souls from above, and that there are some who originate from the perfect solar worlds. These are stronger than those hailing from the small planets resembling this earth, and it is here where they aspire to achieve the childship of God. The less perfect the planet, the weaker are its emigrants. These, I admit, have less severe trials to pass during their life, but they may suffer greater damage to their soul. However, they possess within themselves a vigorous, primal life germ. If it were to be awakened properly, it will not be long before the life of their souls will return to proper working order. Finally, and most frequently, there are souls that originate from this earth, from its very beginning. They are the ones who, strictly speaking, are called to become sons and daughters of God. Yet they are the weakest of all, and could, if left to themselves, easily become wholly depraved. However, this is not easily possible, for among every 100 of them, there certainly are 1 or 2 strong individuals, hailing from above, whose task it is to guard the weak souls, and thus prevent their total perdition. Although there are utterly lost sheep among them, they will be found again one day. Yet every soul, no matter how weak, helpless, utterly confused and depraved in itself, carries within it the primal life germ, which cannot ever be corrupted. If, in the proper course of time, the soul has been brought to a stage where its innermost primal life can be awakened, it is blessed forthwith, strong in love and wisdom in all things. It is then a child of the Most High, in the same way as an angel incarnate, or a soul hailing from a central sun, a lesser planetary sun, or from some other dark, and as such, lightless earth globe, of which there are more in the vast expanses of space than there is sand in the seas and grass upon the earth. By laying on his hands, or gently stroking the root of the nose, across the temples and down to the pit of the stomach, a person more advanced in his perfection may put another into an ecstatic trance. The latter may be the most foolish and superstitious sinner, a veritable brute, but during such a sleep, his soul, however disturbed it may be, is freed from the tormentors of its physical body, and the primal life germ becomes active within the soul for a short while. If you were to inquire certain things of such an entranced sleeper, you will receive astonishingly wise answers. After a while, such a person, in accordance with his own directions that must be observed, is once again awakened to temporal life, and his primal life germ is returned to its former inactivity. The soul re-enters its previous bonds of the flesh, and does not remember anything that happened while its body was in a state of trance. It has no recollection whatsoever of the wisdom that passed through its incarnate mouth, and it is again as foolish and superstitious as before. May this prove to you that, fundamentally, no soul is so depraved that it could never be healed. Of course, with many a soul it may take a long time, both here and even more so in the beyond, until it may attain the independent and healthy stability required to fully awaken the primal life germ within it, having it pervade all its parts entirely. However, to regard this as impossible and unthinkable in a soul that appears utterly depraved would be quite as great a sin against the love and wisdom of God as to regard, with the judgmental eyes of the world, the soul believed to be condemned as scum from hell and a colossal agglomeration of sin. Chapter 36. mental illnesses and the treatment thereof. The Lord: You shall not judge others, for thereby you might be judging yourselves in the end. Would it not be utterly inhuman and foolish to judge and unscrupulously punish a physically sick man simply because he became sick and miserable? And yet it is an even greater and more inhuman folly to judge and condemn a person whose soul has grown weak and sick. In accordance with your laws and regulations, you call such people criminals and subject them to severe punishment without pity. And what are you doing thereby? You are punishing a soul because it has become sick through no fault of its own. Ask yourselves how your courts must appear to God. Ask yourself also, my philanthropic Cyrenius, what you, as a supreme judge of Rome, with power over life and death, would have done with the 5 principal criminals had I not been there. As I see it, you would have listened to the enumeration of their infamous wicked deeds, and finally had all 5 crucified. Would it ever have occurred to you that such spirits could dwell within these 5? Oh no, this you would never have thought. Infuriated by their crimes, you would have condemned them to death in coldest blood, and moreover, put your own mind at ease by thinking you had rendered a good service to both God and mankind. What damage you would have done to mankind by uprooting those spirits, which now, completely healed in soul and body, shine like the vernal sun upon the men of this earth, and will warm and motivate many thousands upon thousands of human hearts to the things that are good and true. From now on, you will indeed proceed in a different manner, but previously you would have been unyielding. And behold, this is the case with all temporal courts of justice on our dear earth. For the physical diseases and ailments, there are doctors who prepare all manner of medicines. Only for the maladies afflicting the poor souls, there are no doctors and medicines other than a heavy tome brimming with laws that are difficult to keep. And behind the laws hangs the sword of judgment. Would it not be better, more prudent and humane to establish more doctors and medicines for ailing souls, rather than for their bodies, which, before long, will become food for the maggots anyway? I certainly know best that a deep-seated ailment of the soul is more difficult to heal than many which affect the body, but none of them is completely incurable. However, for every body, there is a final illness, for which there is no cure on the whole earth. And yet, you men do the complete opposite. To treat the decrepit, entirely mortal body, you establish ever more hospitals, as well as dispensaries and spas. You invent ointments, plasters, and health drinks. But you have not yet established a single institution for the immortal soul. Of course, you say within your hearts, how would that have been possible without you, O Lord? From whom would we have adopted and learned this? This is certainly true, for gaining this knowledge does, in general, necessitate a more thorough investigation into human nature than merely having the empirical knowledge of which herbal juice would cure the excess stomach acid the quickest. But the immortal human soul, in its complexity, deserves far more to be treated properly than a stomach which has been overloaded by sheer gluttony. It is, of course, at all times true that physicians of the soul, by God inspired, have been sent into this world, and that they preached the proper way to heal men's souls. Some heeded the advice and were healed unfailingly. But the so-called great and powerful on this earth always imagined themselves to be quite healthy in their souls, finally persecuted these physicians and forbade them to heal sick souls. In this way, the great and powerful on this earth were always instrumental in preventing the blessed teaching of the healing methods for these souls from developing the roots necessary for the growth of a proper healing tree. And wherever a healthy and vigorous seed was sown, the selfish and power-hungry of this earth used to cut back the tree, removing the, to them, superfluous branches and twigs, and scraping off the essential bark, until the whole tree had to wither and die. Thus, to this very hour, no remedy for sick souls has been invented and implemented, other than exceedingly harsh laws, horrific dungeons, the sharp, merciless sword, and all manner of instruments of painful execution and death, all of which are products of souls that are ailing as well, but are nonetheless strong. The latter must be helped first of all, if the healing of the small, weak, and downtrodden souls is to succeed on this earth. Chapter 37, on Mental Institutions and Doctors of the Soul. The Lord. I myself had to come down to this earth, so that, for all the sick souls, I could establish a permanent and forever effective institution for their healing, such as men could never have established themselves. However, notwithstanding all this, it will always be difficult to establish an institution of this kind for sick souls, because certain people will begin to feel that their imaginary rights in this world are being infringed upon. Self-love and worldly love, whiffs of hell in the hearts of men, will always resist, not wishing to be healed of their severe afflictions, and they will not give up their worldly remedies, or their harsh laws that are difficult to keep, together with their judgments and punishments. However, nonetheless there will be many after me who will make use of this soul-healing institution established by me, for the benefit of many. Such true soul-healing institutions will, for the sake of my true and living name, certainly have to endure many trials and tribulations, orchestrated by the worldly powerful, but in themselves thoroughly sick souls. However, I shall know how to protect them. But should the worldly souls that have grown severely ill of their own volition attempt to bring down these healing institutions out of sheer madness, then I shall seize them by a suitable and extraordinary judgment, and I shall arrange the healing of their souls in institutions in the beyond, where there will be much howling and gnashing of teeth, until their healing has been ever so gradually accomplished. Even in this world, a powerful medicine usually tastes quite bitter, but even more so the medicines for the healing of souls in the beyond, since they must be powerful enough to heal a dangerously sick soul, in cases where no healing had been possible before. Yes, they will certainly be healed, but it will be a long and desperately painful process. Therefore, blessed is he who will heal his soul in these earthly healing institutions. For all the reasons mentioned so far, you, mighty judges, shall in future be true soul physicians, and you shall pass a righteous judgment over every sick soul, which will lead to its recovery and not to even greater emotional deprivation. Truly, the degree by which you will worsen the condition of an already sick soul, by means of a judgment that is sick in itself, to the same extent will your own soul become more miserable and sick, and your healing in the beyond will be far more painful than that of the soul you had made more miserable by your evil judgment. For such a soul, in spite of your wicked and absurd judgment, is and will remain sick, though it will respond to simple healing in the beyond. The soul of an unenlightened judge, however, will, after every undutiful and evil judgment, incur twice the sickness it had inflicted upon the sick soul, and will thereby double its own mental illness as well. Hence, it may be easily concluded that the healing process in the beyond for the severely diseased soul of such a judge will be a bitter and lengthy one. If you happen to be an incompetent doctor and, being sick yourself, visit a dangerously ill person, thinking only of selfish gain, and, in your incompetence, administer to him a medicine that not only does not help him, but only worsens his condition, then what benefit would you derive from that? According to your custom, you are not paid if you have not helped him, but instead you have contracted his disease on top of your own. A competent doctor who visits your former patient in your place will no doubt cure him with a simple but effective medicine. Whereas for you, who are now suffering from 2 diseases, he will have to use a medicine that is twice as potent, which, in your suffering body, will produce twice the reaction than that which the simple medicine will have caused in your former patient. Chapter 38. True Justice. The Lord. I think that this matter is now clear to you, and so I will continue. By what I have told you, I did not mean that you must abolish all prisons and detention centers, which are indeed a necessary evil to counter the great wickedness of severely ill souls, or break all the fetters and swords. Oh no, this is not what was meant by it. For contagiously ill souls must be carefully isolated from the healthy ones and kept in detention under supervision until they are thoroughly healed. However, allow not your anger and desire for revenge to keep them confined in secure places, but instead your great love for your neighbor, and, closely related, your sincere concern that they might be completely healed. Whenever the true spirit of love indicates to you that one or the other severely ill person requires bitter medicine, do not withhold it from him, for this would be an immature and untimely sign of compassion. Only in the spirit of true love must you dispense a bitter medicine to the seriously ill. It will surely bring about his desired recovery, and thereby you will derive many blessings for yourselves. The medicine that I first prescribed to the 5 at the beginning of the evening was certainly not sweet and palatable, but my great love for them recognized that it was absolutely essential for their complete recovery, and thus that bitter medicine was also a supreme act of my love for them. Consequently, it was so much easier in the morning to heal them of all evils, and if one of them bears a grudge against me because of the bitter medicine, let him speak up. But if someone, motivated solely by anger and a thirst for revenge, torments and tortures the supposed criminal most unmercifully, his actions make him the greater criminal many times over, and one day he will all the more taste of the most bitter medicine. Whatever measure you use in your assessment, that same measure will be used to reward you. Whoever measures with true love will one day himself be measured likewise, but he who measures in anger and revenge will one day, for his own healing, receive an administration of the very same medicine, but twice the quantity, and he will not be released a second too early from the harshest institution in the beyond, until every hard fiber within his soul has become as white and soft as wool. I have now shown you the true nature and character of man in general, and you can no longer say, "This we did not know." But since you now know it, do act accordingly, and teach it also to those who rank below you, and, being sick themselves, do thus far not know what they are doing. You will then, as true and healthy collaborators working for my kingdom upon this earth, be active in the right and best measure, and my approval will accompany you wherever you go. If, however, you will work someplace else, employing your old ways. Then know that your soul has once again become infected by an ancient evil. Ask me to cure it, so that you will not be stricken by a twofold illness. O you who judge, making the poor, sick souls even more ill than they were before, earnestly consider what you are, and what you should be in all truth, and what you are supposed to be doing according to the order of God. You judges and overlords, ruling over the impotence of the peoples, from whom, in the end, you derive your power, might, and respect, shall be true fathers of your nations, and as such you must be concerned for the health of the souls of the many children entrusted to you, with all love and true fatherly diligence. You need not be doctors caring for their bodies, but rather doctors caring for their souls. If you see your children disregarding the rules of their parents, and even grievously sinning against them every now and then, would it be appropriate for the parents to take one of the children and torture it as an example to deter others, and finally even hang it on the cross? This could only have been done at some point by a father entirely drunk with power. However, you will not find many such examples throughout the history of the world. The better parents among you will at least reprimand transgressing children in an apparently serious manner. In the most severe cases, even punish them with a salutary rod. Should the children improve their behavior thereafter, this will surely give you great joy. It is an appropriate desire for you to see the souls of your children fresh and healthy in your company. You mighty judges shall behave in like manner towards all people, and your joy will never end. Put yourself in the place of those who must listen to you, as well as accept and follow your laws. Would it not be pleasing to you if they, as your judges, would be compassionate and lenient towards you? You could sensibly wish that their behavior in your presence, if you were to stand before them with sick souls, would be the same as your behavior towards them if they were to stand before you with equally sick souls.